joined now on this podcast evening for St. Patrick's with two former pupils from the same club, which is
Tullysaran.
And the two most nervous men that God has ever put on this earth. Good to see you. Jason McGahan, Kerry, S&C. Your official title is?
Head of high performance.
And it's a constantly evolving role in your game as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of the first when I first went to Kerry's head of high performance, and then over this 3 years was the contract. I kind of evolved, and now it's head of high performance.
Good, congratulations with it, and well done on the year. Collie, just to quote you, so it don't cause offence, you're a self-confessed nerd.
Yeah.
And your role with Kerry is?
I think it's called Head of Analysis.
Head of Analysis. Love the fancy titles, but
yeah, I know. I think that was given to me this year.
And, you know, you're working in a successful business, you've got your life, and you it feels to me, and maybe I'm getting this wrong, you kind of seem as if you do this for fun.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it. So, yeah, as you say, like, I've got a job, I've got a family, a wife, but thankfully I have 3 kids, and the youngest is 14, so I've got a wee bit of time back the last few years, and it's just what I enjoy doing. I sort of get to work with numbers, but to play it in the sporting context. So it's kind of like the two passions fusing together.
Brilliant. So working with the Kerry senior footballers in terms of analysis, stats. So give me a sense what that looks like without compromising yourself, of course. But just give me a sense of what that looks like.
Pre-game, we'd set metrics and targets that we feel is important to hit. So take the players through that before a game, and then the game starts, do whatever I do during the game, and then at half time you would be sort of telling the lads how they got on, basically what has sort of caught my eye, either from good or from bad. And you deliver that, and then the boys go out and hopefully do the business in the second half. And then I drive, if we have a home game in Killarney, I drive up the road 5 hours, and then at some stage early in the week you start the analysis of the game. Again, you match it with video to give your analysis more accurate, and then do a report, then have a look. I suppose as the season gets on, then you do a bit more work in the league. You don't do too much work for opposition, do bits and pieces. Then as the championship goes on, you tend to do a lot of work on the opposition. So you're reviewing opposition games, primarily from a data point of view, to see what trends through either numbers or visualizations that would produce, to see what
are trends like. There's people here will have a sense of stats. It's important. We use it in our club. We've our man that does the stats for us. Is probably a phrase you hear all the time.
Everybody's got a stats man.
Everybody's got a stats man, or everybody's got a stats woman, and we have those things. But beyond that, I think there's a lack of understanding and probably a little bit of skepticism. Or what's this boy on talking about numbers and data? Can he kick a ball over the bar?
Yeah, that's right. Spreadsheet never kicked the ball over the bar.
Yeah,
as I talk about. But I don't know. And for your own game, you would be trying to see, is there any area that is particularly good or bad? But probably the analysis maybe takes more effect from the opposition, where you're looking at a team and you're seeing, is there a particular player that would be very important to them, or is there a particular way they tend to attack? Is there a way that their kickouts go? Even at different stages of the game, the teams do different things. So, say from a data point of view, I'd be looking at that, and then visualization is a great thing. So you can have loads of numbers, but it's very hard to interpret. So I quite like presenting things. So if you've a whole load of data, like, it's hard to see anything. So I do charts or do maps of different things, and then I suppose the real neat thing is work with the coaches then, where they would go through with a lot of video to then maybe some things from the video they would see and say, Colin, how does that look like in the data? Or some things I'd see in the data, and then ask them guys, are they seeing it in the video? And then marrying the two of them together then, either from our point of view or for the opposition.
Okay. It's an interesting world. So is S&C, because we've all an awareness of that, and has been for a while to an extent, Jason. But I suppose when you ask again a wee bit deeper around the importance of S&C, and maybe cut a bit deeper, I think there is still a lack of understanding there around that. Do you find that, or is there an ignorance around it?
No, I think it's evolved over a number of years now. But it's when I first got involved in S&C, you're going back to the early noughties, and And then it kind of wasn't really. It was more so you'd hear it in Australia and you hear places like that. But so when I was over in Australia in 2003, and that's when I got the chance just to see a snippet of what the Sydney Swans were doing, and I spent about 6 to 8 weeks with them, and it was one of the pieces of advice that Ty Kennelly actually was there at the time. I don't even know if he remembers, but he was a rookie at the time. But he says S&C is the way to go. And I kind of, was a road. Then I came back and I said, right, this is what I want to do. And I went after a first qualification in S&C, and then started taking it from there. But started coaching my own club, started training my own club as player manager at one stage. And
how'd you do?
Yeah, since I've left, I've done better. So go figure. So yeah, we're a senior club now, by the way.
Yeah, the foundations.
I know. So we were actually, I think we're in the 4th divisional stage. But so it's a lot person then, and from there I decided for some reason I'll go back to school, and me and him keep joking. We were in primary school together, and Colin went to school for school. I went to school to play football. So. But the same thing was that that's where my outlook was. So later on in life, I went back to do a master's in UL, and it was a course, but it was the people I met, and then I decided that I enjoyed going back to school that much that I decided I'd do a PhD in it. So, but the way I looked at it was a PhD in something I enjoyed. It was in football, and that's basically what I did. So that's how I ended up more or less on the route where I am now today. So.
Is David Clifford a freak?
Yeah, David.
I know, genuinely. I just mean in a physicality point of view. People, you've seen the picture with the kick,
and everything else. He puts a lot of work in it, to be honest. To be fair to him, and
so how much of that is trained, and how much of that's just kind of in the genes to an extent? Would you say?
I'll be honest. David's one of them players that he put his hand on anything, he can do it pretty well. He's a pretty good enough. He handles himself on the golf course. Although I don't be on the golf course, but. He can do it all right. He's good. He was good at soccer. He was good at most sports, But to be honestly, what you see is what you get with David. And to be honest, he's not just a good footballer. He's a good person, So and even you talk about Shawnee is a real. They're the first two I met. The first time I met David and Shawnee, they were only 19. And they were well matured before their years, When
you say mature, you talk about up here?
Yeah, and the way they handle themselves and everything, but that goes down to they're good people and they're from good families, and they just love football.
Interesting. And in terms of playing against Armagh, from a Kerry perspective, I feel like I'm being awkward here, and I'm not, but at the same time, you're invested in Kerry. You're from Armagh. I'm sure you're sporting Armagh every other day of the week. Is that in any way tricky for you?
Well, of course it is. But it's it was one of the first questions that when I started my PhD with Ian Fitzmaurice and Cian O'Neill in 2015, and when I went down to Kerry to meet Eamon, that's one of the questions he did ask was, what happens if you come up in Armagh? And lucky enough, it was 2 years ago, so I said I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But yeah, it is. It's obviously.
Is that what you said to him? I'll cross.
Yeah,
you didn't have to give him.
No, I said, listen, I'll cross that when it comes to it. But yeah, of course it's tough, especially when you're, I was working with Armagh development squads for nearly 10 years, working in the schools, coaching the schools, and yeah, it's always tough, especially some of them boys like Soupy and Rory and Young Shields, they were all part of the development squads that I was working with, so
yeah.
You were delayed for them last year when you did see them and they eventually achieved their goals too, but yeah, it's different than much day, and you have a job to do, and that's the way it goes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Colin, your background is fairly unique. So for people that don't know you and don't know, you didn't just wake up one day coming off the back of business and thought, I'll get into stats. It's not just Kerry this journey started.
Yeah, I guess where it started maybe 20 years ago. I was a gambler. One of the good types, so I tended to win, and I'm thinking probably about 2004 or 5. I worked with a coder and started scraping websites, sort of getting corners and shots and that sort of stuff for soccer. So I was collecting data, building models.
Did it work out for you?
Models are profitable, yeah. Made a few quid, thankfully.
Must introduce you to my friend Oisin in a wee minute there.
I'm hoping he's not here, is he?
Yeah. Oh, he's here. He's taking your seat a little bit later, but usually get on quite well.
Yeah. I used to work in the Brookies actually in winter, so.
I feel like we're going down a completely different path here.
It was you started it.
So you're working in gambling, you're statistically analysing gambling, and it's working out for you. Like,
Yeah, so it worked out, but probably, to be honest, I'm thinking probably about 2011, 12. How I'd describe it, I'd say I got to the end of my mathematical ability to beat the market. So every year the market gets smarter because the bookies don't want people to win. So like before that, every bookies in Armagh wouldn't let me put on a bet. But they did one or two things. If a team was 6-4 and I went to back them, they told me the price was evens, or else they told me I could have a tenner on it. So I had to go online, and then they're restricted, and I eventually had a bet in Asia then to get money on as well too. So yeah, that went well, but towards the end I did start to lose my edge, and thankfully I'm sensible enough that I sort of knew that, and the cut sticks. But I have a bit of a compulsive personality, so like I want to do something, I just want to do it, and all this data. For whatever reason, started going on Twitter as it was back then, and soccer analytics was probably just starting. Like, people used to tell me, like, Twitter, what are you doing that? It's an awful thing. But I would describe Twitter as like it's the world's biggest pub, and you find your corner that you're comfortable in. Like, there's niches for everything. So there was this group of nerds that started doing soccer analytics and started to write stuff, started to create metrics, got a few followers, bit of publicity. Gabriele Marcotti, then a journalist, I think he's from the Times in London, so I acquainted him, and he realised that people like myself, he thought they could help football clubs, so he started to sort of introduce me around football clubs, had a meeting with Gianfranco Zola, a few other people, and end up worked with Bournemouth the first year they were in the Premier League. So I did all Bournemouth data and helped them with transfers and analyse games and stuff like that.
So with Eddie Howe then, obviously?
Yeah, with Eddie Howe, but we only lasted 1 year. We parted by mutual consent, is I think the terminology.
Okay.
So we decided after 1 year to park it, and then because...
Why was that, out of curiosity?
I seen my job, I was having data from games all over the world, and I was trying to find undervalued players. But by their very nature, people tend to not have heard of them because you didn't want to buy someone from England or someone from the big leagues. He was the boss, ultimately, it was his decision, and he seemed to like to buy players that he had seen with his eyes, which tended to be English Championship players. So it just wasn't working out. So it was grand.
Is that just a culture change, really, isn't it? Like, you're statistically looking at it, and Eddie, in a sense, I'm not calling him old-fashioned, but in a sense more traditional. Yeah. He's looking at it different way.
Yeah. So I suppose it's the danger, or the thing. Moneyball was the big thing in the movie, but probably what I found is if I found this player that on some metric I said this guy's really good, he's so undervalued, and the scouts liked him, then it was class. It was great. But if the data suggested some player and the scouts didn't like him, then I was told I was missing something. And maybe I was, but certainly that's just the way they thought. So that is, like, it's their club, but they can do what they want to do, kind of thing. So that was fine. So, but because I was doing stuff for Bournemouth that year, and you're doing proprietary information, and like you don't do anything public, so I stopped posting on Twitter and sort of went out of the game. And then, as it happened, actually, Jason's cousin Malachi, sitting down there, would have known me, knew what I did, and he was managing part of the management team for Tullysaran in 2020. 2020, obviously, a pretty notable year. So he asked me to join them in February. So I said, sure, that'll be fine. Do a few stats. So I was starting to create software and that to be able to sort of log game events and see what I could make of it. And then COVID happened, March 2020, obviously. So that meant over the next 6 or 7 months, loads of games were streamed. So it's probably the start of all the streaming of GAA games. So I was analysing games, putting them up on Twitter, like reports and different bits and pieces, and I was just in contact with Jason. I think Jason's seen some of the stuff that I had done, and eventually then sort of did something for Kerry then. I think they were playing Cork in that infamous game in the rain where the lad slipped up there, and
good start for you then.
Well, I wasn't there at that time, so mind you, the first year wasn't successful either. Then Peter Keane talked to me at Christmas of 2020 and asked me would I come on board then. So
brilliant.
I've been 5 years now then at this stage.
Okay, and there in 2026, you'll be back with them?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I do. As I said at the start, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. Like it is.
It sounds like it's obviously a lot of work, but it doesn't sound well enjoyable, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, the driving isn't enjoyable. The rest of it is. So you're with a great bunch of lads, like humble lads, good chance of success. Everyone works hard, and it's just a pity it's so far away. So I'm at home with the family. Jason's moved down below, but I'm still, so the drive is a bit of a chore. But sure, what else would I rather be doing?
What else would you possibly be doing in your life than driving? Yeah, I don't know, but like it's great. You enjoy it. And you're doing brilliant at it. Clearly, man.
Apart from the driving.
Look, congratulations with it. Unlike Collie, you've relocated.
Yeah.
Your wife's living down there. It's a big move.
It is. I didn't go too far. It's only 3 miles across the road in Tullysaran, so she decided to come down and we got married a few years ago.
How's that going for you?
It's going well. It's going well. You can ask her. Yeah.
That's a bit, seriously enough, a big move. Like
it is. But it's to be honest, to be fair, like Killarney's a lovely spot. It's a lovely place. It was over COVID really when Bernice moved down, and it wasn't until we got to really see the national park really, and we knew it was there. We were right beside it, but it's fantastic. It's a great thing. You can go out there, cycle in the morning for 40-50 minutes, and and it's good to clear the head. But it's a lovely part of the world.
Okay. Again, enjoyment of the job. There's a lovely photograph of you lifting Sam Maguire, on the Hogan stand steps, and there was a great big beaming smile, and you just looked on top of the world, as you should be, but you seem very happy in that role.
Listen, it was always, like, even with my own club, I remember telling the group of boys that we actually played with, I think we were going in the junior final in 2010, and I remember telling that group that I didn't just want to win a county championship, I wanted us to go on and do something special with the club, and I told them I always had one goal in life, was to walk the Hogan steps, and I always had that from an early age. Like, I knew since my father took me to my first All-Ireland in '86, and I just knew that this is what I want to do. And when you get the chance to do something you really love in life and you don't see it as a job, you go and do it. And it's good when you're helping other people, and that's basically what you're doing. You're helping other people to achieve their goals, and when you see them achieve the things that they've set out for their lives and what they want to do in their sporting careers, and achieving that, it gives you a good satisfaction.
Brilliant. Very lastly, back-to-back conversation is going to probably ramp up fairly quickly.
Yeah,
it's the big game, obviously, but it's a tough one.
It is so tough. It is a big one. We're definitely, even this year we really didn't talk about winning All-Ireland. We took each game, that might be cliche at all, but we actually did. We took each game as we went, and I'll say we'll do the same next year. We know what's going to be on us, and we'll hopefully get them back in January and see where we'll go.